My entire life, I was told you need to be consistent to succeed, but I was lied to. Being a content creator for 4 years, I realized that consistency alone can actually set you up for failure. So, before I actually explain that, I do want to first introduce myself. My name is Jelan Abrams, and this is the Unknown and Talented podcast. So, what I want to do first is actually explain to you what consistency is. Well, at least give you the definition. And then I got my handy dandy notebook. So consistency comes from the word consistent. It's an adjective, meaning acting or done in the same way over time, unchanging in nature. So if you don't mind, let me ask you a question. What time do you usually wake up? What, probably 7, 8 o'clock? But it's usually going to be the same time every day, right? Okay. So when you first wake up, what is the first thing you do? Most likely grab for your phone, right? Okay, cool. This is my last question, I promise. What time do you naturally get to work? Early, on time, or late? And I'm pretty sure if you get to work early, you get to everywhere early. You're going to be a part of the setup crew for any cookouts, any birthdays, or baby showers. You're usually the person greeting everybody, right? Okay. And if you get to work late, you usually always have a great excuse for your tardiness, right? So the reason why I ask you these questions because I want you to realize that technically we all are consistent. So if consistency leads to success, why are we all not successful? So let me tell you why. But before I actually do that, I do want to tell you a quick story. So recently I was having car troubles. My car just wouldn't start. I don't know why, but as the man of the house, that's something that I have to figure it out. But the only problem with that is that I don't know anything about cars. So I know to use the key to start it. I know that pedal on the right is the gas. The pedal on the left is the brake. And I know that little circular thing in the middle is the steering wheel. But that's about it. I didn't take auto mechanics in high school. I took keyboarding. So unless typing 60 words per minute was going to start my car, I was in some big trouble. But luckily for me, I have ChatGPT. I use that honestly for everything. So I was able to figure out, sort of what was going on. So I went down to AutoZone and I'm an early bird. So I got there like 7:34. When I walked in, the lady said, "Can you give us a minute?" And we just opened up. I already gave you 4 minutes, lady. Like, why are y'all not ready? Like the minute the doors are open, like I feel like you should be ready to serve. I didn't tell her that. I didn't tell her all of that, but they were just moving so slow. Like the cash register wasn't on. They had the thing that I needed, they didn't even have. And I'm just like, it don't make no sense because I know the schedule is not 7:30 on the dot. I'm pretty sure her schedule is probably what 7 o'clock, 7:15, something to that effect. But I think what it is that when you work for a place for a certain period of time, you know how to break the rules. You know what certain shortcuts to do so you don't have to do that much work. So her mindset is probably we don't really get a lot of traffic at 7:30. They probably don't start coming into like 8:30. So instead of getting there at 7 o'clock or 7:15, I'm gonna get there at 7:30 on the dot. I know nobody's in there and I can just take my time to set up. But the problem with this is that you take shortcuts at work, you take shortcuts in life, but then you want to know why, for all the goals that you want, you come up short. It's because this is who you consistently are. You can't turn consistency off. How you do anything is how you do everything. So even though you might be getting to work 5 minutes late, you're building a habit of always being places 5 minutes late. You're at work 5 days a week. So 5 days out of the week, you're late. So now you are consistently a late person. So that's why when you're late to work, you're usually late to everything else. When you're early for work, you're usually early for everything else because this is something that you build up the consistency of doing it over and over again, and you just can't turn that off. So you actually are consistent, but this type of consistent is not going to lead you to success. But also, being consistently well at something is not going to really lead you to success either. Consistency helps you with your discipline. It helps you build routine. It helps you build good habits. So when you're actually doing something consistently well, You are still moving in the right direction, but that's only the beginning part of it. Because the more and more you're doing it, the more and more you're going to get better. The reason why athletes are so good at what they do is because they consistently do things over and over and over and over again. For practice, they're taking like 1,000 shots. They're not going to take 1,000 shots in a game, but they know if I continuously do this, it's in a habit. So now when I get the ball, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just moving because that's something that I'm used to doing. Whenever you're really good at something, it's because you were consistently doing it. You're consistently practicing. A musician is really good on the piano is because that's something that they practice. An artist can really paint well is because that's something that they practice. A mechanic can fix your car super quick, knows exactly what's wrong with it without even opening the hood, is because that's what they do consistently. But the problem with consistency is that it's the bare minimum. So you can consistently go to the gym once a week. You're going to be consistent. You're not going to see a difference though. But you can go to the gym 4 times a week, but you're still not guaranteed to see any difference. And the reason why I know working out 4 times a week is not going to really give you a big change is because that's what I did. When I first started my workout journey, I worked out 4 times a week for months. And I didn't really see a big change or even a change that I really wanted. And the reason why I did it is because when you're actually working out, what you're going to learn if you haven't worked out, but when you're actually working out, you're going to learn that you're going to have to put your body through extreme pressure before you actually see any difference. So that's why I really like working out, because working out really teaches you a lot. Because if you're not putting your body through that extreme pressure, it's not getting a chance to get broken to be able to grow. That's what your muscles have to do. It has to get broken on that extreme pressure by pushing your body to the limit. And now when it recovers, it's going to grow bigger. So every time you go into the gym, if you're lifting the same amount of weights, when you're running the same exact distance without running any incline, you're not going to grow. And that's what I realized. I realized that the only way I can grow, I will have to adapt. So I started lifting heavy weights. I started running on incline. I started pushing my body to limits that it hasn't seen before. So now I'm able to actually improve. Because if I kept going to the gym, kept doing the same thing for months and now years of working out, I would have stayed the same. And life around us actually keeps changing. So when you actually are staying the same, you technically are not staying the same. You're actually getting worse because everything around you is actually getting better. So even though you found something that you could be consistent at, you're actually consistently now getting worse. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, that means you want to get better. You want to improve. You're looking to push yourself to the next level. But the next level is going to require more. The next level is not going to just require consistency. Anytime you get to a new level, it's more work you're going to have to do to get there. So it's not going to just require you to be consistent. It's also going to require you to adapt to what that next level requires of you. My dad always tells me that the only constant thing in life is change. Life is full of ups and downs, and a lot of times you're going to have more downs than ups. So what does this mean? This means that you're going to have to learn how to adapt. And let me actually give you the definition of adapt. So adapt, handy dandy notebook. I need to get a notebook. Start writing stuff down. Them notes in the phone is not always good. Learn that old school writing. So to adapt, that is an actual verb. So this is an action. This is something that you're going to have to do. So adapt, it means to make or become suitable for a new use or purpose, to modify. So that means you're going to have to change for a new purpose. So your goal is to get to a new level. You're going to have to adapt for that new purpose. Your new purpose is that next level. So recently I got married. Currently I live in a brand new house with my wife. This season of my life, I had to do probably the biggest adjustment I've ever done in my life. I've always wanted a wife. I've always wanted kids. I always wanted a big house with the white picket fence. I didn't want the swing. I know everybody's adds a swing in there. I think the swing is kind of corny. So I didn't want the swing, but I wanted everything else. But I didn't realize how much of a big jump it was going to be from living by myself, being a bachelor, to now living with my wife. I didn't realize that I'm not going to be able to watch ESPN all day. I didn't realize that I'm not gonna just be able to eat chicken, brown rice, and spinach for every single meal. I didn't realize that I was gonna have to throw away my bright red bar stools because it doesn't match the aesthetic. I didn't realize that when I had this dream before. But this is the life that I wanted. So if those were the necessary adjustments I had to make, I was gonna make it because I know that I wanted this life instead of being consistently the old Jelan. Because if I was consistently that Jelan, I wouldn't have this life that I have now. But I had to make an adjustment because the adjustment made me be ready for this next season in my life, which is a beautiful season. You're married, gonna have kids, gonna get a big house, probably gonna have two dogs, which I don't want, but I gotta adapt. But that's the thing is once you want that next level, you want that next thing for yourself, you're gonna have to know that it's gonna require a different person. You're not gonna be that same person to get to that next level. But most of us don't do this. Most of us don't want to adapt. Consistency is safe. We know exactly the results for the actions we're going to take. I don't know if you've ever talked to like an old head and you were like trying to put them on something brand new. They always give you like the same response. Man, I've been doing this before you was born. I was doing this for 40 years. You don't know nothing. This is how it's supposed to be done. And it's like life changes. It's like I know you've been doing this for 40 years. I know you've been doing it before I was born, but so many things change. Right now, I'm talking into a colored camera. Back in the day, there was black and white. You know what I'm saying? Things are changing over time. I have my own studio setup. I don't have to go somewhere and pay somebody for stuff. We could order food from our phones. We could order Uber from our phones. We used to have to call a taxi. You know what I mean? You don't even got to talk to nobody no more. It's life changes so much. So to think that you can just stay the same and everything be okay, it's not going to be okay because you are definitely going to get left behind. And if you decide not to change, the world's going to force you to change. I think the biggest change that we all had to make was during COVID. That was a crazy time. Everything was shut down. We couldn't go nowhere. I remember I was legit in the middle of my fitness journey and I just had to stop going to the gym. I had to adjust. I had to work out from home. I bought some weights before they all got sold out and I was working out from home. I worked out in the parks. I did all these things because I had to adjust. I couldn't go to the gym anymore. I was forced to adapt. Many people started businesses during COVID. Businesses that were actually pretty successful during COVID. They were called the COVIDpreneurs. So you have this business, everything is going good, everybody's staying home, so they're buying a bunch of stuff, so you're making a lot of money. But then when quarantine was over and everything was open, they couldn't adapt to the difference. They couldn't adapt to the change. They were so used to getting so many sales without having to do all that work because people are home just buying stuff. Now everything is open. Now people have different options and they don't want your stuff. They just went out of business. I honestly had a podcast episode I couldn't even release because when I was ready to release it, the business was MIA. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it was kind of crazy. I'm just like, yo, I messaged the person like, man, hey, I'm about to drop our episode, but your website is not working. Oh, it's about to be up in a few months and it's still not up. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's gonna watch this. Hey, I didn't mean to step on your toes, but I'm just trying to make a point. You're gonna have to adapt. You're gonna have to adapt. Things are always gonna change, but you're gonna have to adapt. And if you don't learn how to adapt ahead of time, this world's gonna force you to adapt. So another example of this is Netflix. Netflix is one of the biggest streaming services. They forced Blockbuster to go out of business. Blockbuster wasn't able to adapt and they went out of business because Netflix took over. But now Netflix is dealing with a lot of competition. At one point, they were the only streaming services. Now you got Hulu. Now you got Disney Plus. They got HBO Max. They got Amazon. They got so many different things out here now that it's now a little more competition for them. And they've been feeling the heat. But instead of being on the verge of actually going out of business, they adapted. I don't know if y'all remember at one point they were talking about cutting off the sharing the login information. You can't use this login in 3 different houses or 5 different houses or 10 different houses. You couldn't do it. They were shutting it off. So this was something that was extremely risky. Because I just remember talking to everybody and they're like, man, we about to just cancel Netflix. We're not going to use Netflix. But Netflix had to take this risk because without taking this risk, they might have been pretty much close to being out of business. But the risk paid off. They ended up changing it where you cannot share your login information, and they got 9 million subscribers to Netflix. 9 million people got accounts with Netflix and are paying them monthly because they decided to adapt. So now I want you to think about your life. What areas are you already consistent at? What is it? Going to the gym, waking up early, saving money, or it could just be something as simple as making your bed. So I want you to recognize these areas and just add 10% on it. Super simple. So for me, for example, I wake up at 4:30 every day. This is not to brag. I legit have to push myself to do so. This is hard. But that's what I do because I know, what goals I need. I need this to adjust. But I wake up at 4:30 every day, and a lot of times I forget to journal because I'm just so in the mindset of creating content, getting the content out. That's kind of my mindset. But journaling is very important to me. Journaling helps me get my mind right, keeps me level headed. And that's something that I don't want to miss out on. I want to make sure I'm consistently writing in my journal. So something I can do is just adding that 10%. I can wake up at 4:15. So that's just 15 minutes that I have that extra time to know I have this time to journal, and I still have my 4:30 to 7:30 to actually make content. It's only a little bit. It's only 10%. So I'm not asking you to find something new, do something out of the box. I just want you to do what you already are doing and add 10%. Netflix didn't do anything new. All they did was say, hey, you're not going to be sharing your credentials with everybody. And that made them 9 million subscribers just because they made one small change. So that's your homework for today. I usually don't give out homework, but hey, I have to adjust. So I want you to find that thing that you already consistent at, add that little 10% adjustment, and then see how that thing actually changes, how that thing actually grows. Because consistency alone is going to lead you to failure. And I don't want any of my listeners to fail. I want y'all all to succeed. And the only way you're going to succeed is by actually doing it. Don't just listen to what I said and say, oh, that was a good episode. Right? Leave in the comments what you're actually going to do. What actually thing are you consistent at already, but you need to add a little bit more to it to actually get over that hump. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode. I know I enjoyed it. It's something that, made me really change my thought because my first ever episode I made of this was about consistency. And I was like, yo, grew so much from that time. Like that was when I was legit a bachelor. And like I said, now I'm living in a house with a wife. So I had to really learn what the difference was between consistency and adapting. So make sure you actually blend those things together. Stop thinking about it as just, I have to be consistent. I have to be consistent. I got to do this. I got to do that. No, be consistent, but also be open to adjust because life's going to keep throwing things at you. So my name is Jelan Abrams. This is Unknown and Talented. Y'all make sure y'all make sure y'all leave a comment of what you're going to be doing that you be adding that 10% to. And also share with somebody. Share it to someone that you feel that this message will actually help. I don't want you to just share it to random people. And people need to actually take action. I want my listeners to be successful. So don't share it to someone that you don't feel like is going to do it. Share it to someone that you feel like this can actually help them change. So we don't need the people that's failing listening to this. We want this podcast to blow. We need people that's going to do it. So if you're not going to do it, you need to stop listening. I need people that's actually going to take action on this. All right. But that's about it. I know I'm going to take action. I'm going to wake up at 4:15 now. So next episode, I'm going to say I wake up at 4:15 because that's what I'm doing. I can't just create these episodes and not actually do what I'm going to say. So I really don't want to. I'm finally in a good spot of waking up at 4:30. But telling y'all to do it, I have to do it too. So I'm waking up at 4:15. I'm gonna leave it in the comments too, just so y'all can know that this is serious. So I'm waking up at 4:15. Let me know what you're doing. All right. So again, Jelan Abrams, Unknown and Talented. We out of here.